And we are live NFL Week 5 preview. A lot of things happened in Week 4. We, of course, started Week 5 off with a very thrilling 26-23 49ers win over the Rams. Mac Jones, hell of a performance last night. But we are here to preview the rest of Week 5. Marcus, how we doing?
Well, if anything happened in Week 5, I wouldn't know it because I was on the beach just staring at the sun. Or Week 4. No, I'm kidding. I've been getting back through the games, like consuming. It's like a full football overload for me because I'm diving into Week 4 like today and tomorrow, and then I get a day, and then we're into Week 5. So it's definitely an interesting schedule, but it's good to be back, rejuvenated, and good to see you, my friend.
Likewise, I'm ready to go. NFL Week 5 preview, and let's go ahead and just start with the London game. It's Vikings Browns. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just dude. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not looking forward to this one. I'm not. This is a game where it's. I don't look. Here's who the Vikings have out along the offensive line. Starting center, Ryan Kelly. Starting left guard, Donovan Jackson. I should have went left or right, admittedly. Starting right tackle, Brian O'Neill. Backup center, Michael Juergens. They have 2 out of 5 starters. They're down to their third string center. They also have Andrew Van Ginkel out. Their first round quarterback from last year, of course, J.J. McCarthy's out. Aaron Jones has been out with a hamstring for a couple of weeks now. Oh, and by the way, we get to play Mason Graham and Myles Garrett. I'm not looking forward to it. If you want the honest truth, I'm not looking forward to it. I think this is. I saw a stat where it's also Dylan Gabriel's first start. By the way, I don't want it to be entirely on the Vikings offensive line.
Yeah,
but I saw a fact or a tweet where there's been 50 plus London games. This is the lowest over under that we've had for a London game ever. So I don't expect a lot of points scored. I'm thinking 17-13. Whoever capitalizes on a mistake, because a mistake is almost bound to happen, whether it's with Carson Wentz holding onto the ball too long or whether it's with Myles Garrett doing Myles Garrett things. Or I will be honest, I like Mason Graham to get a sack in this game. I think that there's some value with that, especially with the interior offensive line as banged up as it is. But this is a game that is going to be all defense. There's going to be a lot of punts. It's going to be a very ugly game. But I mean, I think it'll be a close game. I don't think either team's gonna pull away. That's for sure. Now, for the Browns offense, this is a game where if you watch what Mac Jones did last night, a lot of timing routes, a lot of just get the ball out quick. Dylan Gabriel has to be on that in this game for obvious reasons, because if you're against a Brian Flores team abroad in your NFL debut, get the ball out quick, let your playmakers make plays, and do not let Jonathan Grenard or Dallas Turner or either of the big boys in the middle get after you and get their hands on you. So ultimately, I'm curious where
you going to take the Browns? Are you going to take the Browns?
The thing is I trust KOC. Like I get frustrated with KOC at times. I do, more so with his clock management. People act like whenever you have a KOC or Kyle Shanahan, you're not allowed to get frustrated. You are. I think I'm going to go with the Vikings to win. But there was a minute there where I was going to go with the Browns. I think I'm going to go Vikings 17-14. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be very much, whoever makes the first mistake type thing, and I would not expect a lot of points scored. Whatever the over-under is, I think I'm going to take the under, because there's going to be a lot of defense, a lot of interior defensive line play. Game's going to be controlled in the trenches. Neither offensive line is great, although the Browns is significantly better than the Vikings offensive line at this point. I'm going to go with the Vikings 17-14, though can easily be swayed to the Browns. Curious your thoughts.
I think I'm going to go the other way. I think I will take Cleveland here. I think what we saw with that offensive line with Minnesota last week against, obviously Pittsburgh has some dudes up front, but the way that Cleveland's front is playing right now is certainly noteworthy. And they've been doing it all season long. Not just Myles Garrett, but like Malik Collins and all these guys are flying around. Yeah, I think Carson Wentz is very prone to mistakes, and I think Cleveland's going to get some of those. Obviously, rookie quarterback start going against a Brian Flores defense. Flores is going to dial up all that crazy stuff on third down. He's going to try to confuse them, give them every, I don't know if any third down formation is going to be the same from the Vikings in this game, but I do think Dylan Gabriel has a chance at improving this Browns offense because of his mobility with bootlegs and maybe a little bit of design run game stuff. I think they have 12 personnel potential, run after catch potential with David Njoku and Harold Fannin. enough to put together a early downs game plan that could, like you said, win a low scoring game. Vikings run defense has really been struggling. I think Cleveland is the safer team in this game, as crazy as that sounds, as long as Cleveland can stay out of those third down looks. You don't want Dylan Gabriel getting into third and pass situations against Minnesota. But I think with how Cleveland's defense is going to set them up, I think that's the game script. And I'm going to go Cleveland, like, let's get weird. Let's go like 15-13 in this one. Early morning in London.
It would be fitting, by the way, before we move on, it would be fitting for 13-13 game. Myles Garrett beats Justin School off the right edge for a sack
for
to make
safety.
Safety, right? 15-13. So any weird bets like this game, you can justify them. There's very weird, very abnormal slate to this in week 5, by the way, if you haven't looked ahead. So
it is. You do kind of have to squint to find the beauty of week 5. But as I was putting together some of my notes, I've got some stuff I'm excited to see this week. And maybe it's just because I took last week off. I'm excited to watch, get the quad box going and everything once again. But I'm going to go to one of the better games of the week, and that's Denver at Philadelphia. In specifically one of the matchups here is Denver's defense against this Eagles offense. Really just a juggernaut matchup in terms of a physical matchup. I think Denver's defense is very well equipped to, sorry, I got something stuck in my eye. But I think, all right, I got it. Denver's defense is very well equipped to match the physicality of the Eagles here. They're an excellent run defense. They've got a deep front. They keep, they rotate them. They keep them fresh. The Eagles have not had that powerhouse run game yet. I don't know, I'm not ready to say Saquon isn't the same as he was last year, but it feels like he hasn't really had that run where you say the dam broke open and he gets that 50-yard touchdown run that just overtakes the game. It's been more of a methodical 3, 4, 5 yards at a time type of run game. And I think Denver is more than comfortable living in that world defensively. And just all the stuff that Vance Joseph does to throw blitzes at this offensive line to try to outmaneuver you as opposed to just out physical you. I think that's going to be somewhere they can have success. And then of course, the fallback of their passing game we saw in week 3 was A.J. Brown for the Eagles. Well, you're going to get Pat Surtain on A.J. Brown in this game. It's one of the few cornerbacks that has the size and skill to actually win that matchup potentially. So if you're able to slow down the run, force Jalen Hurts to go elsewhere, and it's not like Denver has a lot of holes on this defense either, but Devonta Smith haven't really tapped into Devonta Smith. I think they have to in this game. That's a big, I think, matchup to watch is can he really step up? Because I don't think you're going to get a lot of running success from Philadelphia. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be A.J. Brown. So excited to see that battle. I think it's going to be a lot of good back and forth. And then can Bo Nix go into Philadelphia and just play well enough in a game that I think you're counting on Denver's defense to do what a lot of teams have kind of done to Philly and slow them down a little bit this season. But yeah, Bo Nix last week against Cincinnati was kind of easy going, but I think they're finding some of these playmakers. You had, for the first few weeks, it was a lot of Franklin getting a lot of targets in this offense. And then last week they went to Marvin Mims. You've got Cortland Sutton playing well. So I think Denver's offense is slowly figuring themselves out. So I think it's going to be an excellent game. I think it's a really tough matchup for Philly. And I'm actually... I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick Denver in the upset in a close one, 23-21. But I certainly am not confident. And Philly is just such a tough out. You cannot make mistakes against this team, like blocked field goals and blocked punts. Philly has been destroying teams with those this year.
That's a take. That certainly is not going to help the Marcus H. Jalen Hurts crowd based on everything. I'm going to go.
I think I went that whole time without even saying
you did not say
Hurts' name.
Credit where it's due. Credit where it's due. I will say this. A.J. Brown a couple weeks ago against the Rams, 6 for 109 and a touchdown. Last week, he wasn't targeted much. The Eagles, out of the last 4 halves they've played offensively, have had 2 really good halves, have had 2 nothing halves. They went the second half last week without completing a pass. It's going to be interesting this week. I like the fact that you brought up the Surtain matchup against A.J. Brown. And obviously, you brought up the size and the physicality. And one of the biggest things about AJ is he's just a bull out there at receiver that you have to also have the strength to be able to play against him. And it's going to be a great matchup. I am eager to see how Kevin Patullo uses AJ Brown in this game, especially after everything that transpired in the past week. But I'm not going to bet on Bo Nix to go into the link and to beat a Philadelphia Eagles team, even despite the struggles. I think in some ways, and we've seen this through the first 4 weeks, we also saw this through the first, I mean, they went 2-2 last year, so a little different, but we've seen the Eagles struggle to, play a consistent full game, a full 60 minutes, but more often than not, they win. And in some ways, they're reminding me of the Chiefs, where they're kind of like, hey, we might not mess around, but we might not, get everything that we can out of everybody. AJ Brown might have 2 catches for 12 yards in a game, but we're still going to put up 30 points and win. And I'm not going to bet against the Birds at home, especially with Bo Nix heading into the link. I know they had a good game against the Bengals. There's a difference between the Bengals and the Eagles. It's going to be very hard for me to bet against the Birds at the link at any point this year, not just against the Broncos. But I'm going to go with the Birds to win. And I honestly think there's a decent chance they cover the 3.5 as well. But I'm going to go with the Birds. And can we get a Go Birds in the chat? I know people love the Go Birds chant.
You're a big Go Birds fan.
I'm a big Go Birds chant guy. Yes, if I see a Eagles hat in the wild, it's always a Go Birds. Somebody actually messaged me last year. They DM'd me and they said that I thought that was like just a crock of crap. They didn't use that word, but they said that I did it to somebody and they live in like the West Coast in like California. Immediately they perked up and said, "Go Birds back." So it's pretty cool. Anyway, we are going to go down to the Charm City, Texans, Ravens, down I-95, just a couple miles, just about an hour and a half, actually. Texans, Baltimore, CJ Stroud, Cooper Rush. Originally, this game, Baltimore was favored by near double digits. That was when Lamar was playing. Obviously, whenever we discuss this game, you have to mention injuries with the Ravens. They are expected to get Kyle Van Noy back. At least that was the latest that I saw. He was a full participant on Thursday. But right now, Lamar is not expected to play. Kyle Hamilton not expected to play. Roquan's out. Marlon's out. Nate Wiggins is out. And Justin Madubuike, of course, season-ending IR. This is a very difficult situation here for the Ravens because for anybody who's not, all that familiar with the Ravens team history and just the way that things have, kind of transpired. In 2005, they were extremely injured. In 2015, they were extremely injured. And now it's looking like in 2025, they're 1-3. They are, unfortunately, extremely injured. It's just not looking good for the Ravens this year. And I know you can say, well, they have Derrick Henry. They can run the ball down their throat or attempt to. Cooper Rush, I think, is a solid backup for what's going to be asked of him. And I legitimately think that the Ravens can win this game. But I think this is also going to be a big test for the Texans to basically say, hey, you put up 26 points last week. But for anybody who watched that game, it wasn't a true 26-0. We were in control the entire time. It was 6-0 with a couple of minutes left in the third quarter against the 0-3 Titans, who obviously I've expressed my thoughts on that situation countless times. And whatever you think of the Titans, or whatever you think of the Ravens, how bad they've been this year and even how injured they are, I still think that they are a better team than the Titans. So this is going to be, M&T Bank's still a tough place to play. They still have to deal with Derrick Henry, who only had 8 carries last week. I know Derrick Henry had a fumble in each of the first 3 games. A solution to him not fumbling, I guess, is just not give him the football at all. But now you have a backup quarterback, and you're going to want to milk the clock as much as you can. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. I am eager to see how the Texans, how they choose to defend the run. Obviously, the Texans secondary and specifically the corner play is really good. So I'm eager to see how much they load the box to really try and stop Henry. But I think I am going to go with the Ravens. Very low scoring game. Could honestly be the 1:00 slate version of the Browns and Vikings. Very similar to that. I'm going to go with the Ravens home team, M&T Bank. I think Cooper Rush can do enough to get the job done because I don't think the Texans are that good of a team. And I still think that the Ravens are, while they have not been good, while they are banged up, I still think they can get the job done and not fall to 1-4.
So you're taking the Ravens.
I am.
That's bold. I agree. I think Cooper Rush is going to look, functional. I think the days of for the most part, you go to the backup quarterback and it's just like a complete nightmare situation like it was maybe 10 years ago. That's probably that ship has sailed on the NFL. Like I think I'm continually relatively impressed by how a lot of these backups are able to step in, and Cooper Rush, what he's done in Dallas is a part of that. It is a different animal against this Texans defense when this Ravens offense just hasn't really been able to find answers. So I'm actually looking at Todd Monken and big time in this game. Like anytime you go to a backup quarterback, you really have to elevate the team with the scheme, especially a guy like Cooper Rush that's not really a mobile guy. And the Ravens with Lamar these last few weeks, it's like he's been holding the ball. They haven't had any quick outlets in the passing game. Can they go back to the drawing board and find ways to attack this Houston defense that's going to be swarming in this game? Both teams are looking to avoid a 1-4 start, so that it's going to be a highly physical game. I'm mostly just too worried about those injuries for the Ravens defense, though, that has looked so bad these last couple of weeks. And I don't think they have really the horses up front to make CJ Stroud overly uncomfortable in this game. So I've got to go Texans in this one. And I think they cover the spread as well. I lean them big time here.
Did you, by the way, quickly, did you see CJ Stroud's quote this week?
Yeah.
So he's for anyone who didn't see, he turned 24 today. He said that he was watching his high school highlights and that he was a lot faster at 18, and now that he's older, he's lost a step.
I think he's confusing getting older with playing behind the Texans offensive line for 2 years.
Well, definitely something to note is all I'm saying. Just something to note.
I think we'd all feel a little bit slower if we had to play quarterback in Houston with how they're blocking these days. All right, let's go. Let's hop across the Gulf, I guess, to New Orleans. How about me using a little geography there, Garrett? You like that?
If I'm being real technical about it, there would be no hop across. It would just be straight down from Baltimore. But anyway, we'll keep going.
Oh, I was thinking that game was in Houston. My fault.
No, it's in Baltimore.
Okay, if we were in Houston. Anyway, Giants at Saints. Saints favored in this game. That is very interesting to me after the Giants get their first win last week. I'll just come out and say it. I'm all over the Giants this week. This is one of my favorite bets. I mean, the way that defensive line woke up last week and I mean, talent-wise, we know they have it. And Dexter Lawrence, by the way, has been sick all week. So I'm assuming he's going to be good to go by Sunday, but something to keep an eye on there. But, yeah, I thought that Shane Bowen finally got a little bit more creative with some twists and stunts. They were lining Brian Burns up a little bit more as that inside linebacker, letting Abdul Carter go to work off the edge, really keeping the Chargers offensive line that had a bunch of backups in there guessing. And I think that is something that's pretty easy to build upon. I thought the Giants secondary played better. Andrew Phillips had a monster game last week. So, I mean, I look at this Saints offense. Yeah, they moved the ball a little bit against the Bills last week. I don't think too fondly of the Bills defense. I think they're going to have a much harder time in this one against the Giants. And I thought the Jackson Dart experience was fun, but I do think the way that they're trying to go about this right now, especially now that Malik Neighbors is out, it's a lot of, RPOs, read options, leaning into his athleticism, where he actually had some pretty impressive runs. I think it opened some stuff up for Bo Scatabo. Cam Scatabo. I will stop saying Bo Scatabo at some point. And the last thing here is the Giants offensive line, I thought really held up well against the Chargers pass rush for the most part last week. It was the first time in a long time I watched a Giants game and I was like, hey, they're actually blocking people this week. Getting Andrew Thomas back healthy. He looked awesome last week. I think that's a big part of it. But the Saints, kind of unexpectedly so, rank 32nd in team PFF pass rushing grade, and I think you feel that watching them play. So I think that not Bo Nix,
Cam Jordan.
No,
that's bad on my part.
No, our new quarterback, Jackson Dart. Two quarterbacks with an X in their name, probably, right? But anyway, I think Jackson Dart's going to have some time to throw. I think the scheme's going to work. I really like the Giants in this game.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. I think that the Saints are. I just wonder when we get to a point where it's okay. Spencer Rattler is yet to win a game as a starter. He'll be if they lose this 0-12 or 0-11 or 0-12 as a starter, when do you move to your boy with the second round pick, Tyler Shuck? When do we move there and say, all right, we're 0-5 or we're 1-4 or 2-6 in a couple weeks, whatever the case may be, and see what we have. I do think that this Giants defense finally started to cook last week, albeit against backup offensive tackles, but to be able to hold the Justin Herbert led Chargers to 18 points, to me, bodes well for a game where you're going to be playing Spencer Rattler the following week. I think that's a big confidence boost, even if Joe Alton missed a lot of the game and even if Rashawn Slater was out. I think that the Giants, as simple as it is, can put up 20 points. I don't think the Saints are going to put up 20 points against the Giants. And to me, that's where I'm going to lean with this. And I'm also with you. I like the Giants to win on the road as dogs.
All right. We're in agreement on that one then. Where are you going next?
We are going to Indy. We are going up north.
Okay. And I do want to shout out, we did have a super chat earlier about the Colts. So thank you, Super Pony. He's just complaining about A.D. Mitchell last week, who was a clown show, frankly. But go ahead.
I also had a couple super chats. One was about the Vikings. They said they're going to take out Dylan Gabriel at Shador season is what was said. And then one was just somebody said, love the content, have a great weekend. So love that. But look, Raiders Colts here. The Raiders, every year there's just a team or two that just frustrates me. And they just frustrate me, man. That's really my big thing here with the Raiders, because there's so much untapped potential with this team. I really don't think the Raiders are a team that is, like a 6-win team. I think that they are more of an 8 to 9 win team, and to lose the way they did last week was frustrating because it was a very ugly game. I don't think the Bears win that game last year with Matt Eberflus as their coach instead of Ben Johnson. Geno has 2-3 interception games in the first 4. Ashton Genty finally started to get going this week, but where I worry about with this game with the Raiders is the Colts defense is forced to turnover in every game. Turnovers for the Raiders seem to just, it's usually not one, it's usually multiple, right? Mm-hmm. And I also think that the Colts are just a better team. I mean, I think they're a much better offense than what we've seen from Las Vegas in the first couple of weeks. They're more efficient. They did not turn the ball over in any of the first couple of games of the year. They had a couple of turnovers last week. And if we're being honest, the Colts probably should have won last week to improve to 4-0. And, we can have that conversation. But I just look, man, how are the Raiders going to be able to stop this offense consistently? I mean, this is also a really good offensive line. Whenever you look at the 4 units, the Colts offense, Colts defense, and then the Raiders offense, Raiders defense, to me, the Colts offensive line significantly outmatches the Raiders just defense, their whole front 7. And I know Max Crosby can eat and take over the game in any play. And Max Crosby did kind of take over that game a little bit last week against the Bears. Shout out Max Crosby. He's one hell of a talent. But I don't think... What's up?
Still elite.
Yeah, 100%. I just don't think that the Raiders are going to have enough. And I don't think they're going to be able to put up points. Daniel Jones, the one read was not great last week, but your first turnover in 4 games, that's a quarter of the year where you did not or 3 games you didn't turn the ball over. At home in Indy, Colts favored by 6.5 for a reason. That's a big spread against the Raiders. I'm going to go with the Colts to win. I think they are far too talented. And it's also, you're looking at a team that's also really pissed off at the way they lost last week, although that concept can also be applied to the Raiders. But the Colts feel like they blew one last week. There's no doubt that the Colts left LA last week. They left SoFi feeling like we let one slip away. And I think you're going to see the Colts try and get up early. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jonathan Taylor score not once, but twice in this game. Give me the Colts something along the lines of 28-20, 28-17, somewhere in there. I think Lou Anarumo is going to have the defense ready to play as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see another interception from Geno. I'm not going to say multi-interception, but interception from Geno, and also the Colts defensive line really get after the Raiders offensive line as well.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add on top of what you said. I generally agree. Geno's just got to play better. Like he's had two of the worst quarterback performances of any quarterback on the season. And he's had one really good one. Week 1, he looked good, but he's just got to play better. You are really leaning on Max Crosby to have another superhuman effort to slow down this defense. And it's, the combination of those two things is hard to bet on right now. So yeah, I'll go Colts as well. All right. I'm going to go to my old home, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oof. Shout out the Meow Mix podcast.
Yeah, rip.
Did you see that?
I'll carry the torch. I'll start a Panthers podcast. It'll be 5 minutes a week. But anyway, was kind of sitting here meditating on this game. Is this not like kind of a defining fork in the road moment for Bryce Young in his career? Panthers are 1-3. You know, it's been a lot of negative conversation, obviously, with everything Carolina. But like, you got to have a good game this week, right? Like, you're at home against this Dolphins defense that is so bad, coming off just a horrible team performance. I didn't think Bryce was awful in that game really until it was just completely out of hand, and he just kind of checked out, it felt like. But it's a big week for Bryce Young. Is he a franchise quarterback? I don't want to make it too, like the stakes are too big here, but it really does kind of feel like this game right here is a make or break moment for Bryce. If they win this, you can kind of get things back on track at 2-3. If you lose this, it's like you're 1-4, and I think you're starting to watch these college quarterbacks if you're Carolina. And I'm obviously a big Bryce Young fan, but that's kind of what I was thinking with this game, really. I mean, 2-1-3 teams, it's not the most intriguing matchup, but I do have some other notes here. So the Panthers defense is going to have to really bring it as far as their tackling efforts. When I think of the Panthers defense, they have a lot of issues, but their speed, their team speed and ability to kind of fly the ball and finish tackles has been a huge problem for them going back to last year. And that's been more the same this year, but the addition of Trayvon Merrick has helped their defense in that regard. And just a shout out to anybody filling out your underdog lineups this week. I think Trayvon Merrick is going to have a huge week in terms of tackle totals, because I think a lot of other guys are going to miss a lot of tackles against this Dolphins offense. That's all about kind of putting you out into space, team speed. Can you tackle Achane in space? Can you get Waddle to the ground? Darren Waller now, even with Tyreek Hill out, we're going to see more Malik Washington. They're going to keep with the same schematic attack. So I think you're going to get a lot of cleanup effort from Trayvon Merrick in this game, a high tackle total for him, who does lead the team in tackles, but just putting a lot of pressure on, the Chow Smith-Wades and the, Trevin Wallace, who looks lost out there. Like, those guys are going to have to really step up to slow down Miami's offense that hasn't been horrible this season, as much as Tua has had some ugly moments. And then the only other comment here is how much can Jalen Waddle step up with Tyreek Hill going down now. I think this is kind of his passing of the baton moments for Jalen Waddle. Can you be a number one? Are you just a number two? I think we're going to kind of get that answer as this season goes on, because I don't know that Hill's going to be back with this Dolphins team. But this should be a defense that, Jalen Waddle should be able to have some success against. I don't think J.C. Horn matches up particularly well with him, just because they're very different styles. I think that the speed of a Waddle is potentially a challenge for a J.C. Horn. So there is some stuff to look for in this game, but for me, it's more about, all right, Bryce, like, settle things down, have a good week, get this team to 2-3 so that we don't have to jump ship on the Bryce Young boat officially.
So I had some takes about Bryce Young this week. I released a short. I released a week 4 winners and losers, and I'm at the point where I'm 98% of the way out the door with Bryce. It's just, we're at a point where I kind of asked the question. This is what I went back to all this week. Over the past 2.5 years, he's started 32 games. He's 7-25 lifetime as a starter. Forget the QB win stat, just 32 games as a starter. How many of those 32 starts have you left in NFL Sunday and said, you know what, Bryce Young played like a top 14 quarterback this week? Maybe 4, 5 out of those starts. And this is a number 1 overall pick we're talking about. We're not talking about a 3rd round guy or 5th round guy. And I'm kind of out on him. I'm 98. Like I said, 98, not really kind of. I pretty much am all the way out. We'll see if he can bounce back. I do at least want to note for Bryce that the offensive line's banged up. It obviously wasn't a smart decision to trade Adam Thielen, who was his safety blanket, right before the season started. Xavier Legette has been a huge bust as well. 4 receptions, 8 yards in 2 games this year. That's really hard to do, especially on 15 targets. I think the Dolphins win. I know the Dolphins have their own concerns. And I do have a super chat here from Kyle, who specifically, he pointed back to something you said. He said, this comes down to who exploits weaknesses better. And he also said that Miami should target Carolina's linebackers, which you pointed out. And Carolina should target Miami's corners. That's, especially with the corners. Since Bryce has been bad from clean pockets, he thinks his Panthers lose. I'm right there with him on that. I don't trust the Panthers to win, over the course of a 60-minute game. And even within the 30-0 game over the Falcons, there wasn't, the Panthers offense was just, it was just kind of there. There wasn't, they did awesome. And I think the Dolphins win. And by the way, shout out to the state of Hawaii in this game. This is the game that's going to be on because of Tua and then Tedero McMillan. So I at least wanted to.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
I also had a Panthers related super chat from Michael. Thank you. He recommends starting Miami's defense this week, but he says it's not Bryce's fault. I think it's a lot of blame to go around with the Panthers. I'm going to back Carolina one more time here and take them to win this one. I'm not overly impressed by Miami either.
Right.
And Tua is prone to make a mistake at any given moment, as much as Carolina has some holes on the defense. So, I'll go Panthers, but I certainly don't feel super confident in that one.
Very, very. That's why where I am with Miami. I would say like 55, or I'd probably we'll say like 58-42. Miami is how I feel about it. So definitely a possibility that Carolina wins this. I mean, it's not certain. It's a 1-point line for a reason. I did want to say, though, before we move on, Dallas and the Jets will be the next game. But I know I kind of like ragged on Bryce a little bit about being a number one overall pick, but the situation has also not been good at all.
Yeah.
Like at all. So I don't want it to just be that, hey, Bryce is the reason. He's not. He's not. That's just at least wanted to clear that up. So Cowboys, Jets.
Oh, the tie is on the screen.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have to get your thoughts on that at some point. You guys were lucky to tie that game, by the way. But that was
it's our bye week. We don't have to talk about that.
We have to. We have to talk.
Yeah, we can break it up.
But I just have in this game, there's times where you can break it down to a couple of things. I think the Cowboys are way too talented offensively to not beat a team that has in a couple, not just one, but a couple of games this year that has looked pretty bad for 3 out of 4 quarters of a game. Then they kind of come alive, make the score look a little closer. And I just don't see the Jets winning this game. The Jets, there's a couple of games a year where they do shock you and they will, win 1 or 2. They're like, I think 3-3 against the Bills in MetLife in the past couple of years for reference. But I think the Cowboys are too talented offensively to let this happen. I mean, the Cowboys just put up 40 in the Packers. The Jets are not going to put up 40 in this game. I know Brian Schottenheimer's defense or Matty Eberflus's defense has not been good, largely due to the personnel they have on the defense. But the Jets also have Braylon Allen out 8 to 12 weeks. And I do want to ask a quick question. This is anybody in the chat and Marcus as well. Do you know who the Jets' second leading receiver is? So not Breece Hall or Mason Taylor, but the actual second leading receiver.
I think I have a very strong guess.
Who?
Is it a former Minnesota Golden Gopher?
Yes. Yeah.
He has Tyler Johnson.
Johnson. He has 63 receiving yards. 63. And the third leading receiver is Alan Lazard, who has 21 receiving yards. I know the Cowboys defense has been horrendous through the first 4 games, but if you cannot stop or hold them to under 25 points with how bad the Jets have looked at times, I mean, I don't think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl, obviously, but that's a major red flag if you can't do that in this game. I think it's going to be decently high scoring. I don't know what the over under is. I more so just focusing on the actual gameplay. I think Dallas is going to win. I think they're also going to cover the spread. George Pickens, to me, has always been a player that I thought his ceiling is really, really high. Not like top 2 or 3, but top probably 7 or 8 in the NFL when he's on. He had over 130 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. I love watching George Pickens play. I'll be eager to see how Sauce Gardner plays in this game. Sauce has had a not great start to the 2025 season, and we've had the conversation before about how volatile corner play is around the NFL. But the one thing that really frustrates me with the Jets is, I want to buy into the belief of Aaron Glenn as the head coach, but there's so many times where the penalties just kill this team, and we saw it last week. I know the game was not officiated well last week in Miami, and Jets fans, I acknowledge that, but there's so many times where it's just like, hey, something good happens. Guess what? A flag. And we're a quarter of the way through the year now. These things have to stop. I don't care about the Jets win-loss record. I didn't think that they were going to go to the playoffs this year. I had them maxed at 7 wins. That prediction is looking pretty good, at least in terms of the max. But we got to clean the things up. We have to look more presentable. We can't, show up to a dinner with a big stain in our shirt. Just look presentable. Keep games close. You're obviously going to lose more than you win because the Jets roster outside of the first 7 or 8 players is bad. And it's, they're clearly rebuilding for a reason. But when you look at this game, I'm going to go Dallas. I'm thinking 28-17 somewhere in there, 31-17. I still think Dallas is going to put up a lot of points, but I'm going to go with Dallas on the road.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been a more things change, more things stay the same season for the Jets.
That's a brutal but accurate way to put it.
Yeah, you're waiting at some point for the light to come on with Aaron Glenn. It's way too early to, have any hot seat conversations or anything like that. The light's going to have to come out at some point in the first season. But it doesn't feel like it's anywhere on the horizon right now. As long as Dak keeps playing the way he's been playing this year, it's really hard to go against the Jets. I mean, maybe Sauce Gardner can, put Pickens in a blanket and I thought Tolbert and some of those other guys made some really tough catches last week in tight coverage. So you'd maybe need to lean on that again a little bit. But yeah, I think you got to go Cowboys to get to 500 after 5 games.
Yeah.
All right. So what do I got next? Tennessee at Arizona. We are in the dog days stretch of the NFL Week 5 here. So I guess what I'm interested is what is the next step for the Cardinals offense? Now you have lost your 2 starting running backs. Your 2 running backs on the roster are like Amari DiMercado, which sounds like a hotel from John Wick every time I say that name. But him and Michael Carter, they're both like scat back, receiving back style guys. And the Cardinals for a long time really in the Drew Petzing era have wanted to be kind of a run the ball, play defense type of team. Can they do that anymore without the backs and without a great offensive line either? Like, I think if you had the run blocking to get in front of these guys and pave the way, you could still run the piss out of the football. But I just don't think that's how Arizona is going to be able to run this offense without those talented running backs and a Tennessee front that's, they're not horrible against the run. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm interested in here is did the end of the Thursday night football game against the Seahawks wake up Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray a little bit? You finally connected on that big back shoulder completion. It felt like every chemistry throw they've had all year has hit the ground. But are they going to kind of have to lean into their drop back passing game a little bit more? I don't think Kyler has played bad this season. I think he's played like a top half starter in the league, maybe not like a superstar, but he's had a lot of drops. And I think he's ready, even though Call of Duty did come out this week. I think he is ready to maybe handle a little bit more on his plate in this passing game. Would this be year 3 of the Drew Petzing offense? Or just
I think it's year 4.
Is it year 4?
No.
I think it's year 3.
Right. Year 3 sounds right.
So yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking for here. I think if you're going to beat the Titans defense, it's mostly through the air, especially when your top 2 running backs are out. As for Tennessee, it's like, same thing we said last week. Like, is this the last game Coach Callahan coaches in Tennessee? I mean, you got to show us something. They lose 26-0 last week. Cam Ward, probably his worst start so far. I think, you want to see Cam Ward get some form of comfort to get rid of the ball quicker. He is 25th out of 28 QBs in time to throw right now. So just make it better, quicker decisions. He's a rookie, so that's hard. But against this Cardinals defense, they play that kind of top-down defense, and they're gonna invite Cam to hold the ball a little bit longer as opposed to taking those underneath throws. So I just don't have any trust in Tennessee right now. I got to go with Arizona. I actually kind of like the idea of Kyler having a bit of an awakening this week. I'd have to go back and look when the last time he threw the ball 45 times was or whatever, but I could see kind of a feel good week in Arizona here. So I'm going to go Arizona, and Vegas agrees. They got him as 7.5 point favorites in this one.
So my whole thing, I'm not going to go on another Brian Callahan thing. I'm not. But what I'll say is I think this outcome is one of two. The Cardinals win 15 plus, or the Titans win, and then we start to have a legit Jonathan Gannon conversation. Like, hey, this is because the thing is, what frustrates me with the Cardinals is I like the process of what they've done to build through the draft, especially in the trenches. Paris Johnson, number 6 overall, Marvin Harrison, number 4 overall. Ironically, I said trenches and then Marvin Harrison, but Darius Robinson and then Walter Nolan, like the foundation is there. And then even supplement with Josh Sweat in free agency. I like the concept of what the Cardinals are building, but I don't know if Jonathan Gannon's the right guy. And especially if they lose this week to the Titans, then it's going to be okay. Like, let's have this conversation. Now, I would argue, by the way, this is the only thing that I'll say about the Titans. If the Titans win this game, I would argue that that's probably worse for the long term, because then we have to keep him around for another couple weeks because, oh, hey, he just won a game. Maybe we're turning something around. Guess what? We're going to get killed next week by whoever we play, more than likely. If the Titans go out here and lose by, similar to the way they did last week, I don't know how Brian Callahan would survive at that point. You'd be 3-19 with back-to-back 15-plus point losses. So like I said, I think Arizona alt spread minus 13.5 or Tennessee money line outright.
Nice.
If I were to choose, but I do not have the what's the word here? I do not have the guts. I'll just leave it at that to actually place a wager on Titans money line, especially with Brian Callahan as the coach. But I'll just leave it at this. Cardinals by 14 plus or Titans money line. I think that's a good summarization for the game. Now, to Seattle, unfortunately, we have to start with this. Injuries for Tampa. I don't know if you looked, but Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, of course, Kalijah Cansey and Cody Mock, both on IR, and then Benjamin Morrison. And for the Seahawks, they also have Devin Witherspoon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Julian Love, all out. So a lot of injuries in this game. To summarize this pretty quickly, Mike McDonald, it's obviously a tough place to play in Seattle to begin with. Whenever you have everybody, I mean, not everybody, but Bucky, Mike, Jalen, Chris Godwin is he at 100%? I think that's a valid question to ask. But whenever you have the big 3 of your weapons out, along with your offensive line still not 100%, or won't be 100% for the rest of the year for Tampa because Cody Mock is done for the year, I'm going to trust the Seahawks. I know Baker's having a good year. I know he's obviously a very, very fun player to watch. And we have a class of 2018 quarterback duel here between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. That's important to note. But Seattle's a tough place to play. Seattle's favored by 3.5 for a reason. Tampa has, again, 6 starters out or 5 starters out. I don't know if you want to include Benjamin Morrison within that because they're, he's still like a rookie, he's still working in and everything. But they have 5 starters plus Benjamin Morrison out. I do want to note that it is an Emeka Egbuka homecoming game. He's from the area. There's a lot of his family going there. So I do like the idea of Emeka Egbuka really having a good game, especially with Devin Witherspoon out. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back-to-back 100-yard games. So if I do have a bold prediction in this game, it's that Emeka Egbuka goes for 100 yards, yet Seattle wins. Ultimately, I trust a healthier Seahawks team to continue to get JSN the football, continue to let Sam Darnold cook, who's been playing at a pretty high level this year. The only thing that really worries me with Seattle is getting a little too cute at times, and they were up 2 touchdowns last week. Would have liked to have seen them go for the kill. That's one thing that I think Mike McDonald can work on is, if you get up in games, step on their throat. Don't, hey guys, we're just going to, let them play.
He does come from Baltimore, so.
Yeah, right. Step on their throat. If I don't want to say like be a man, but like, step on their throat, go for the kill, ensure the victory, kind of like they did with the Saints back a couple of weeks ago. For how good of a game that was for Seattle, for as rare of a stress-free win as that was for Seahawks fans, week 4 was not like that, but I'm going to go with Seattle to win this game.
Yeah, it's tough when there's this many injuries to really, try to break all the matchups down. It's just tough to track at this point for Tampa. It is becoming fascinating, just like how much can Baker like drag this team through this. I like Seattle as well. I think their defense is going to look pretty good in this game against a Bucs offensive line that frankly has struggled quite a lot this year. I could see this maybe being the week where like last week, we even saw it a little bit, Baker running around and then he just chucks the ball into the end zone. And or did that ball end up getting dropped? I watched this on the plane and now I'm misremembering it, but no, Baker had the costly interception at the end of that game in Philadelphia when they could have tied it up in the fourth quarter. So we're maybe starting to see like, okay, Baker's getting a little bit too reckless in a situation that's asking too much of him. Could see a continuation of this, but it's also like, I don't want to just completely pile on Baker either. He's right. Like the reason they're 3-1. So it's going to kind of come down to how he's able to go on a long road trip the week after playing the Eagles with a bunch of injuries and have a good game. It's a lot to ask. And for that reason, I'm going to take Seattle, but yeah, the Bucs are down pretty bad right now. Let's go to the Commanders-Chargers game. And this was one that the more I thought of, the more I got excited for it. Looks like Jaden Daniels going to make his return. And I think that's what I'm most excited for in this game, is to kind of just continue to get an evaluation of Jaden Daniels. Not that, there's any really low point of that, but obviously coming into this year, it was like, can he be an elite superstar quarterback? And then first 2 weeks happened and they play the Giants week 1. He looked a little off to me, a lot of missed throws. Then they play the Packers defense week 2, and he obviously gets injured in that game. He was running for his life. But we haven't really seen Jaden Daniels play at a high level yet this season. Obviously, he missed the last 2 weeks. Can he get back to that this week against the Chargers defense that we saw us a little bit against the Giants last week too? Some of the downsides to the Jesse Minter defense can be a little bit too conservative at times. And I think they're not going to change who they are. I think in this game, they're going to force Jaden Daniels to take those easy completions underneath, find those holes in the zone. And that was what impressed me the most out of Jaden Daniels in his rookie season, was those types of game scripts where he's completing 30 plus passes, just getting the ball out quickly and picking apart defenses. He's going to have to do that in this game against this style of defense. So can we get that back, get that Jaden Daniels back, where it's like, this guy's got all the answers to the test. And I would love to see that, because he's a super fun player to watch when he's playing at that level. But for the Chargers, their offensive line is super beat up. They've got Mekhi Becton's going through a concussion right now. Joe Alt feels like, I don't know if they've officially ruled him out yet. I don't think as of yesterday they have, but he's dealing with a pretty bad ankle sprain. So does he give it a go? Is he even 100%? If he does, it was tough to watch them against the Giants try to block for Herbert last week. And inversely, Washington's pass rush is basically all scheme or bust right now. And that can be effective, but do they really have the horses to take advantage of, a beat up Chargers offensive line that's kind of bleeding out right now? I'm going to ask you, where do you think the highest ranked Washington pass rusher is in PFF pass rush win rate this season? So out of 212 players, where do you think the highest ranked?
Is it past 100?
It is.
I would say probably, I was going to say like 122.
Or it's past 100 in the opposite direction, but it's
in the top 100.
It is in the top 100.
Oh, I was going to say 122. We'll say 89.
Very, very close. So yeah, 92nd out of 212 is the highest ranked Washington pass rusher. It's Dorrance Armstrong. And then you're down to like Deron Payne is 113th. Javon Kinlaw is 130th. Von Miller is 148th. They don't have guys winning those matchups right now. So can they smell blood in the water a little bit and wake up? Or does it come back the other way and Herbert has a little bit more time to throw? And we get, that big Justin Herbert moment again that we got seemingly every week for the first month of the season. And it's a big game for both these teams. Like Washington doesn't want to fall to 2-3. They don't want to start trailing in their playoff race. And then for the Chargers, like if they lose this all of a sudden, you look back on those first 3 weeks and it's like, dang, like that was fun, but all of our offensive linemen are hurt now, and they could, if Denver pulls off the upset and the Chiefs win Monday night, which I think are both possible at least, all of a sudden you're back in third place, and it's like, well, dang it, like we thought we had a good thing going here. So this is a big game for both these teams. I'm very excited, and I think I will go Chargers. I think I still believe in what they've accomplished this year, but to me, this is like a pick'em game. I don't like this being a 3-point spread. To me, this is flip a coin type of deal.
Okay, so off of that, I would say the pass rush is I mean, it's a big thing because it's like bad versus injured / bad. I mean, well, not, you know what I mean? It's bad versus injured. And if the Commanders don't come out and really get in Herbert's face early and often, then I have a lot of questions about this team. And that was one of my biggest concerns for Washington heading into the season, was being able to consistently just stop teams defensively. And that, I mean, I don't think the roster that Washington fields week in and week out is one of the more talented units in the league. And the point that you brought up about being scheme or bust is, I mean, that's a perfect sentiment to describe the Washington Commanders defense, where I don't want to hammer too hard on it because I do like Frankie Louvu a lot. I think he's a really good player, but there's not many talented players in this defense to the point where you're like, hey, the Washington Commanders are going to be able to, hold a team under to 20 points. They're going to get a gritty, ugly win. In some ways, it's going to be, hey, Jaden, please go make chicken salad out of chicken feces and take care of the rest. So I'm with you. On the Chargers, I think the Chargers are going to win. I think it's going to be, 27-24. I do think both teams are going to put up a little more points than you probably think. But if the Commanders pass rush cannot get going this week, then there's a lot bigger problems in the nation's capital. So I'm going to go Chargers. And we also have another NFC AFC game. It is Detroit against the Bengals, and Detroit is favored by a lot in this game. It's a lot of what I had last week with the Lions. Pretty much, hey, it's a race to 20. If you get to 20, I think the Lions are going to roll. And what I think needs to kind of be remembered specifically about the Lions last week against the Browns was they didn't play bad offensively. The Browns defense is obviously miles better than the Bengals, no pun intended with Myles Garrett, but it's obviously miles better than where the Bengals defense currently is. Cincinnati's also on a short week, and I don't trust Jake Browning-led offense, especially against Kelvin Shepard. Credit where it's due. He's doing great this year as the Lions defensive coordinator. Obviously, a lot of the love goes to the Lions offense naturally because they have so many guys in the offense. But Kelvin Shepard's doing a great job defensively. The Lions are favored by 10.5. And there was a stat that somebody had. It was something to the effect of, in the past, I don't know, maybe, I forget what the games was, but basically like the Lions are not just even against the spread. I'm talking like 65-70% against the spread when they're favored. And it's because when they get up, they pounce. And that's very much what I expect in this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's 21-0, 17-0, 21-0 midway through the second quarter. The Bengals over the past couple of games, the opposing defenses they've played, the Vikings and Broncos, have outscored the Bengals altogether, because the Bengals put up 10 points against the Vikings. They put up 3 points against the Broncos. Isaiah Rodgers had 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. So 14-13 over the past 2 weeks. The opposing defense is playing Cincinnati. Somebody tweeted at me this week that I'm biased against the Bengals because I hate the Bengals was the wording. I hate the way they construct their team and then expect, oh, hey, it's going to be this year that's going to change. Like, hey, you know what? We didn't invest in the offensive line the way we should with a $250 million quarterback, but it's all good. We'll figure everything out, and we'll trust us, guys. We got it under control. And I don't know if you saw the video that Brett Coleman posted this week on Twitter, but it's just a perfect microcosm of the Bengals. Just let's invest everything in 4 players and then hope that everything, we're going to have the rest of the roster with basically like duct tape and hope that everything works out. I'm so frustrated for Bengals fans because of the way this roster is built, and they're not built to win in the long run. And you see that over the past couple of years. Detroit's going to win this one. I think there's a chance that they roll.
I'm surprised it's only a 10.5 points.
I was thinking that too.
While you were talking, I went in and put a unit on the Lions by 10 because you said it perfectly. When they when they smell blood, they step on your throats and they rip off your head and do graphic things. Like they destroy you. So I like Detroit big time. Bengals are unwatchable right now. Let's move on. I think our viewer count has dropped by 40 as we continue to talk about the Bengals, because it's like even Bengals fans like I can't listen anymore. It's so
shout out Skyline Chili.
Yeah. All right. This was another game that the more I thought about it, the more I got excited for it for week 5 here. Patriots at Bills, Sunday Night Football. So the Patriots, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, granted against the Panthers and Dolphins defenses, but 2 out of the last 3 weeks, they've like kind of figured it out a little bit. Drake May's had 2 of his better, more clean games. I think last week we saw them targeting Stephon Diggs. I think he got just over 100 yards for the first time as a Patriot. And I think their defensive line as well is impressing me. Harold Landry is having like just one of the more surprising seasons to me. Like he's actually winning one-on-one reps. I saw him beat, I don't know who he was going against, honestly, but it was, I mean, I think it might've been Taylor Moton unless he was hurt for the Panthers, but I saw him win like a bull rush for the first time in like 7 years. So like he's looking good. Barmore looks awesome. Like that was something where it's like, hopefully he's healthy,
right.
But like you didn't know necessarily where he was going to be coming into the year. Milton Williams has been just fine. And Caleb Chason's got a little bit of life. So like, I think the Patriots defensive line was always going to be the big if for that defense. And the fact that they're hitting some green lights there is encouraging. They just got Christian Gonzalez back into that defense. That's huge, obviously. So I'm kind of interested in like kind of what the Patriots are cooking, like the Mike Vrabel factor coming in. I think this was a prime candidate to be like kind of a Cinderella surprise team this year. Well, let's see if they can do it here. We've seen some surprising primetime outings from some big underdogs with Miami, and the Niners were big underdogs last night. I'm not bold enough to pick the Patriots in this game because the Bills are that good, but I do not agree with this being what does that say 9 points on the graphic?
8.
Is 8. Yeah, I knew they were more than a touchdown underdog. I don't agree with that. I think the Patriots can make this thing interesting. The Bills offense obviously is just it's the biggest machine in the league in terms of like, you know what's going to happen when they show up. They don't turn the ball over. They'll pick you apart. They can run the ball. Josh Allen, all of it. The Bills defense, on the other hand, I think you can get them. So I'm really excited for this one. I'm going to take the Bills, but Patriots cover, and this one being like 26-23 type of game.
I actually think it'll be a little higher scoring, but I agree with the concept of Patriots cover. The Bills have scored 30 or more in every game to start the year. They're a wagon offensively, and they're wearing their all white uniforms. I don't know if you saw this, and somebody tweeted that we're 8-point underdogs and they're wearing their all white uniforms, and that's fine. You know why? Because snow melts in May. So that's pretty hard. That was pretty hard. I like that. Shout out to that Twitter user that said that. I like that one.
Dang.
But that did go hard. But I'm with you. I think the Bills they're a superior team at this point in time. The Patriots are rebuilding for a reason. I know there's people that really hate the phrase moral victory, but if New England goes in there and they get up early and, you know, they look really, really good against a team that could very easily win the Super Bowl this year in year 1 with Mike Vrabel in the 5th game under Mike Vrabel, considering where this team was last year at times, that would be huge for this team moving forward. Now, playing the Panthers at home and then going into Buffalo, 2 completely different tests. So we'll see how New England fares, but I think it's going to be something like 31-24 final. I really like the Patriots to cover the spread in this game. I think 8 points is a lot.
And it's easy to get caught up in the middle of the season with this, but it's like there are these big moments for these quarterbacks. Like, okay, year 2, Drake May, you're 2-2, you're going to Buffalo. It's Sunday Night Football. It's like, can you have that big moment where we leap? It feels like we've been waiting to take him from the prospect category to the where are we placing you in terms of like the NFL echelon? Like, can he have a great game in this moment? It's a big week for him. Not a defining week, but a big week.
Definitely would love to see him take the next step. And now this was a game that I didn't think was all that interesting. You know, entering the season, it was very much like, okay, like let's see what happens. I fully expect Kansas City to eventually win, but dude, the Jags defense is playing really good. They have forced 3 or more turnovers in every game. And the Jags offense started to get going a little bit last week. BTJ had 25 targets first 3 weeks of the year, only 7 receptions. Last week, he had 5 receptions and 7 targets. So hopefully we're starting to see a change in the right direction. One of the biggest questions I have entering this game for Kansas City is, there were times, the run game to me is still a question. Xavier Worthy, while yes, it's obviously great to have him back, you obviously want your talented players on the field. He was still the leading rusher last week. You don't want Xavier Worthy to be your leading rusher. Great to have him back, but that can't be the recipe to winning games long term. Patrick Mahomes through 4 games is still the team's leading rusher with 130 yards. How are they going to fare against this team? Was last week an outlier because they were playing such a bad Ravens team that is also injured on top of it, that's allowed 130 points in the first 4 games? And how are we going to fare against a team on the road in what I think is going to be a kind of difficult place to play that's forced as many turnovers as the Jags have in the first, 4 games of the year? And then with Jacksonville, I think this is an equally big test for each team. It's a really big measuring stick to see where each team is. Obviously, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They've, whenever the postseason rolls around, I'm not going to doubt the Kansas City Chiefs. But, I think they'll figure it out one way or another. But for Jacksonville, you're in your 5th game under Liam Cohen. Travis Etienne's ran for 120 yards or more in 2 of the first 4 games. Brian Thomas looked better last week. Travis Hunter had that big, 28-yard reception across or over the middle. How are we going to fare now that we won a big game in San Francisco last week? Now we're playing another big dog. How are we going to fare with the opportunity to go to 4-1 and to have a chance to put the back-to-back-to-back defending conference champion Chiefs 2-3 through 5 games? The Chiefs are favored by 3.5. Generally in these types of games, I'm going to go with experience more than I am with the rawness of Liam Cohen as the head coach. And I also still don't trust Trevor Lawrence. We're in year 5. That's kind of who he is as a player. He's very inconsistent. And I think we're in year 5. So that's who he is as a player at this point. I'm going to trust the Chiefs a lot more in these situations. But I am very eager to see how the Jags play against the Chiefs offensive line. Big test for Josh Simmons in this game as well. One that I'm very much looking forward to watching on Monday night when the game is live, especially against, either Hines Allen or Trayvon. How's the Chiefs running game going to play? Is Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt finally going to get going, or is it very much going to be 3.5 yards per carry, 3 yards in a cloud of dust for the rest of the year? That's what it's looking like a quarter of the way through. But despite everything, I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win 24-20.
Yeah, I picked the Jags in the upset last week. They deserve a ton of credit for all the reasons you said. Love what their defense is doing. They're playing with a physical brand of football that it's kind of like what we said with the Chargers last year. It took like 5 or 6 weeks to get used to, the Chargers are a physical football team. Oh, the Jags are a physical football team this year. So they deserve a ton of credit for that. And they can win this game, certainly. But I'm not going to pick them to win this game. I think Spags is cooking up some diabolical stuff this year. He's had, he had Lamar in hell last week. They had a great game plan against the Giants and Russ on that Sunday night game. And I think Mahomes, he's playing at that level where it's like he's eventually going to make the play if you keep them around. And I don't think the Jags offense and their passing game, because the Chiefs do an excellent job shutting down the run. And I guess that's becoming a powerhouse matchup because the Jags run game is very good, but it's tough to do that against the Chiefs. So I don't think the Jags offense and their passing game is in a good spot right now. I don't think Trevor's playing well. I know they won last week, but I still was watching that game and it's like he's running out of bounds. Like when there's 2 minutes left and they ended up getting a good play call from Liam Cohen to make it not matter anyway, but he's still missing throws. It still does not look right for him. And I think you need to be able to throw the ball to beat the Chiefs. So I like this matchup. It's going to be a fun one, but I'm going to go Chiefs to win this one.
All right. Well, that will wrap up the Week 5 NFL preview. So if you enjoyed, please drop a like. Helps both of our channels tremendously. Is also very much appreciated. And we will be live again for the Week 6 preview 1 week from today, next Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. So like I said, if you guys enjoyed, please please subscribe if you're not already. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Cheers.